I put my life on the line for this, Jason. I've been shot at. I've been robbed. I've been raided. I have friends who've been killed for this. I have friends who are still in jail over this stuff.
From coordinating 18-wheelers full of beasters and Mexican brickweed across the Northeast to holding legal licenses in multiple states, this is what transitioning from the traditional market really looks like.
There's a lot of opportunity here.
Yeah.
But for people that think it's an easy way to get rich quick, they'll find out it's a quick way to lose a small fortune.
Today's guest is Derek D'Ambrosio. He went from altar boy to outlaw to executive, and now he's building legal cannabis brands in Massachusetts, New Jersey, and New York. His motto, it's all about doing cool stuff with cool people.
Now that cannabis has become more mainstream, there's going to be quality and convenience are the two things, right? The people who spend the most amount of money on cannabis, the connoisseurs, they typically don't shop in dispensaries because so many people in the legal cannabis industry don't know how to buy weed.
We get into the moments that nearly ended it all, the deals that changed everything, and what it takes to survive and scale in both worlds. This is Legacy Leveled Up.
Derek D'Ambrosio, and I'm from Charlestown.
What do you do?
So I do cool stuff with cool people.
I love it.
I have a lot of different businesses in the cannabis industry. So it all started off with my consulting business, Green Path Consulting Group.
Is it?
With that group, my main job is to help people cross over from legacy to legal.
Oh, fantastic. So wait a second. So that means, were you legacy at some point? Would you consider yourself legacy?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the proper term to even use, legacy?
So there's a lot of different terms, you know. So traditional operator is somebody that operates in the traditional market. Legacy operator, the way I look at it, is if your family was in it before and they taught you.
So there are levels to this even.
In my opinion, there. Everybody's different. I don't police. People can say whatever they want to say or call it whatever they want to call it.
Well, I think that it's funny because cannabis can be sometimes extremely friendly to people. And then sometimes it's like, well, I'm legacy, I was this, and now it's like this. And we get all bent out of shape about things. I just try to keep it positive, right?
Correct.
So in your opinion, that's kind of like how you look at the world before the license side of it comes in.
Correct.
Okay. So, I mean, because you're prolific, I would say is the one word I would use for you. You're in everything. But you got your hands in tons of stuff right now. And so, like, where do we even start, really? Because there's so much. I remember I think the first time we met was you were still working at Cape Cod Cannabis.
Yep. So
you were trying to get our drinks in back in the day, and you were like, well, there's things about Cape Cod or I don't know.
Yeah, we actually brought you guys in.
Yeah.
I remember your glass bottles.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we crushed it. Yeah, that was my first legal licensed cannabis business.
What were you doing before that?
So I've always been an entrepreneur. So I guess to go back where it all started, my mother had cancer and would smoke cannabis. My Uncle Phil would bring it over and sell it to her. So they would go down to the basement and smoke, and I didn't know what was going on, right? I was a good kid. I was an altar boy. This up until the time I was like 15. Wow. I was an altar boy. I used to walk dogs. I had a paper route. I saved up all my money. I was a really good kid, and then I got a job with the city of Boston.
And that's what changed.
The city of Boston changed my whole path. I was a red shirt, which is they take inner city kids and they give them nice paychecks, and we go around and we clean up the area. I was my first paycheck, like my first week, I started smoking cigarettes. I was stealing cigarettes out of my mom's pack so that I could smoke with the rest of the guys, right?
Because they were all smoking.
They were all smoking. Yeah. So then we get paid, and on payday, everybody goes out and they all buy some bud, and I'm sitting there and I smoke it, and I smell it, and I'm like, oh, I know that smell.
It's familiar.
That's when Uncle Phil comes over. So I go home and I corner my mom and I'm like, hey, I know what you and Uncle Phil are up to, and I want in. And that's when she breaks the news to me, why she's using it and what she does it for. But that didn't hold me back because I know, like, if she was using it for that, I knew it couldn't be so bad.
Right,
so
right.
I went to Uncle Phil. I'm like, hey,
hooked you up, kind of thing.
I'm like, hey, teach me how I want it. What do I gotta do, right?
So what were you doing there? Like, actually, before we go too deep into that story, I am just so ignorant to that side of the world.
Yeah.
Because again, that's why I ask these things, and because I'm not trying to use derogatory terms or anything like that. Be like legacy versus whatever. But I know there's some terms you just kind of don't say. But like, what is trapping?
So it depends on what you
I'm
call
such a
it.
nerd. I'm like, I don't know.
Technically, like a trap house is a house that wouldn't be in anybody's name. It's like somebody else's name that you're using. Like you could do an Airbnb with somebody or whatever.
Right. Or if someone's renting
It's basically a house that you go to, that you bag up and you keep your stash at, and some people even sell out of their trap house. Like people come to that house to buy and go out and everything. But it's a trap because let's face it, like selling cannabis or selling anything illegally, the amount of time that you put into it, the effort that you're doing, and then when you account for the time that you spend getting locked up or the money that you have to spend to not get locked up, in my situations, like it's a trap. You can make more money working at McDonald's than you could selling drugs. Like,
I've heard that.
On average, most people.
Yeah. Well,
But there's some talented people that could do anything are going to be successful at it, when they put their mind to it and they go up. So there are some people that can really crush it in the traditional market.
Right.
But for the average person, like it's not worth it. It's a trap.
100%. Good Vibes is more than a product. It's your cannabis toolkit. Drop it into your drink, mix it into tea, kick up your mocktail, or just pop it in straight. You can even bake or cook with it. Our unflavored option is perfect for brownies or any recipe where you want control and precision. No more guessing how strong your edibles are. Available in 500 milligram and 1,000 milligram bottles, and flavors like strawberry, grape, blue ras, and our newest, mango guava 1,000 milligrams. Grab your toolkit at dispensaries across Massachusetts or at getgoodfeels.com. And as always, 21 plus only. Please consume responsibly. Okay, that makes more sense. Because I hear these terms sometimes, like, what does it really mean? Like, am I gonna Google that? That's gonna be my Google search, or like asking ChatGPT about trap houses. Like, I don't know. I got like super weird because I was like, I've heard that term many times, and I was like, I think you would be able to answer that. So I was like, let me just ask you.
Yeah.
So getting back to your story though, you literally were like, I want in to your Uncle Phil.
Yeah.
And then
he put me in. He taught me the game.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Because he was already dealing.
Mm-hmm.
He was like he was like a certain level that he was like, all right, I can use you as a kind of like an understudy in a sense.
Yeah, especially with family. He's going to teach me. If I'm going to do it,
he's going to do it the right way.
I'm going to do it one way or the other. He knows me, right? So you might as well take me into the fold and teach me how to do it right. Never have money and drugs at the same time. You want to do it right. Yeah, there's certain rules to this, you know what I mean? If you want to operate at a long term at a high level.
Right. And so this is what age approximately?
15.
15 you started. Yeah. So how long did that last? I'm sure you got kind of crazy stories about that, all that stuff.
So about 10 years ago is when I kind of crossed over.
Okay.
I started like everybody else. I wanted to sell a little bit of weed so that I could smoke for free. Yep. If you talk to most people that have ever been caught selling weed or have done it, that's how most people are going to tell you that it starts.
Yeah, because you're just like, hey, I want some weed for myself.
Yeah.
And I can basically pay for it by the proceeds of selling it.
All my friends smoke weed.
Yeah.
Why don't I buy enough weed to give to my friends?
Well, that's the entrepreneur.
And then I can smoke weed for free.
Exactly. So that's the person who's the entrepreneur who's thinking those things, right?
Yes.
So that's what you're saying. There's probably a lot of talented people who get caught up in a lot of these things.
Yes.
Because they see it, the math makes sense to them. They're like, it works out, right?
Yeah.
So you've been in this for a minute. This is since 15. So like now you've been doing it for quite a while, and like there are levels to it. Like I can understand, but at what point? I'm like, how much weight were you moving at one point?
I used to have 18-wheelers.
18-wheelers.
Yeah.
Where are they coming from?
All over the world, man. I was lucky because I went to an international school, so I had friends from all over the world. So it was really nice. So if I wanted, back in the day, I would get what we would call like the Beasters from British Columbia.
I've heard
that was our good stuff back in the day when the Mexican brickweed was the other stuff, right? So
exactly. The brickweed
the brickweed was good.
Yeah.
they would compress it on that side, and that's what messed it up. But when you got it over, if you pop some seeds and you grew it right, it was good. It wasn't bad.
I'm sure it was filled with seeds too. So
I made way more money selling the cheap stuff than I ever did selling the expensive stuff.
Right.
I would get the expensive stuff from my friends that sold the cheap stuff, and we would all smoke good. The average person smokes. They just want the affordable stuff, and that's always been the case.
I think that's kind of the case still. Right.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. Yeah, the majority people, it's like Budweiser.
Right.
You sell way more Budweiser than you do the top of the shelf stuff.
So, yeah, that makes sense.
But there's always going to be a demand for that top of the shelf. And you can't one brand can't be the answer to everybody. Like Johnny Walker tries to do it with the red, black, blue. But even blue is a blended. It's not real top shelf. So it's hard to really have something for everyone.
Right.
A lot of brands try.
Yeah.
But the way I look at it is kind of more like I'm a record label. Every brand speaks to somebody. So I have 4 separate brands that are in-house brands that each one has a different customer.
So I'm going to dive into the brands in a second, but like so Mexican Brickweed, was that 18-wheelers then?
Yeah.
Typically?
Yeah, typically.
Okay, because 18-wheelers makes a lot of sense.
It didn't start there, by the way.
Oh, yeah, you're just like 15 years old, like out at 18.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of money involved at 18-wheelers.
Yeah.
But it like at your high, it was like you were just trucking at a bunch of stuff. Was it always Massachusetts? Like, was it always like a Boston thing, or did you sell other places in New England and stuff like that?
So I would travel all around New England, from basically Jersey to Chicago was kind of like my turf.
That's wild. And like, how many people like I guess were under you? Like, because at some point you can't.
It's all a team. It's a team. It's no matter what. It's always been a team.
And you've been building teams since young, then, right? So
yeah.
You know how to build a team.
Yeah, teamwork makes the dream work, baby.
Right.
Like, I'm good at what I do. I find the best people around me to do everything else.
Wow, that is wild. So what was the transition? Like, what happened that made you go to the license or legal side?
So one thing is, like, you got to understand, like, I'm aligned for this, Jason. Like, I've been shot at. I've been robbed. I've been raided. I have friends who've been killed for this. Yeah. I have friends who are still in jail over this stuff. So when things started going legal, I went to my lawyer, who's part of a licensed group right now. And I gave him a bag with $300K. I was like, yo, I want my fucking license, bro.
Just get
Let's do it. Yeah. And he laughed at me. And he's like, bro, all of those licenses are already spoken for. He's like, the application. He's like, the applications are there. I can take your bag and I'll fill out the application for you. He's like, but you're never going to get it, especially with your record and with everything.
Was this in the medical days?
Yeah.
That's why, yeah.
Yeah.
Because now obviously it's a priority to get people who have prior convictions and stuff like that into the systems.
Yeah. But even like my boy Jesse from Trade Roots.
Yeah.
He had a record. He helped Netta start up and build the whole plan and everything. And when they got open, they basically screwed him. And like, oh, sorry, because you have a record, you can't even join. Wow. They needed all his IP.
Right. Everything he knew and everything he understood.
Yeah. And then they screwed him at the end. And that's what I learned. Like, in the traditional market, business is done on the up and up because there's consequences to your actions.
Right.
In the legal market, these corporate Chads and Brads will stab you with a pen and think that they can sleep good at night, you know?
With a pen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know?
So when it comes to, I guess, obviously you're going in, you're thinking to yourself, all right, I'm going to get started here. The first step was to just literally be like, you knew a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. But it seems like out of the people like back in the traditional side of things, you even mentioned Jesse. So like a lot of the people who are running, are there a lot of these guys who are in the licensing market that you even knew from back then that are now in the license market?
Yeah, there are some people, especially not in Massachusetts as much, but I have a lot of friends all over the world that are in the legal cannabis market that have crossed over.
Did you ever expect it to happen?
Yeah.
Like legal market?
I knew it was kind of like with Cali,
Right.
once it popped in Cali, I was like, oh, this is on, let's go. And like
Commitment of time.
we had a team, so we had like Packwood started in Cali in 2017, and I started building Cape Cod Cannabis in 2017. You know, so at that same time, like we were all rising up up together.
So back in 2017, then for Cape Cod Cannabis, was that like you knew the owners or something like?
I was the alien. I mean,
So you
I came up with the idea. I got an investor to give me $1 million, and I tried to open in Boston. I lost $30K on a deal where everything checked the box, but I wasn't connected enough politically. I had some people show up, and I didn't give somebody a bag, and they voted again. They got me turned down, basically. And so I lost $30K off of my first attempt.
Was that BCB? Was that like Boston Cannabis Board situation?
Yeah, I don't want to get too far into
Of course.
into those situations, but yeah,
Yeah,
you know how it goes, bro.
Right.
Like it's very
political.
it's who you know and how much you're willing to pay people. You know, so I'm still going through it today. Like I tried to open one on Mass Ave in Boston, and I had a politician who is arrested, by the way, local politician who second time caught on charges for bribery and like basically extortion, and asked for a bag and I didn't give it to her, and now
You didn't get it.
I didn't get it. There was a small group of older people that are connected to some charities that receive a lot of fund grant money to keep that area bad. If there's any business that opens up there that creates jobs and tax revenue down in the South End, right on Methadone Mile, like that's going to affect how much money they get next year in grant money.
For grant money.
So they voted me down, not on any merit. Everything should have passed, but I didn't give some politicians some money, and all of a sudden I had some charities speak out against me, and we didn't get it. So a lot of money wasted.
So you were like, Cape is the next stop kind of thing?
No, I mean, it was for Cape Cod. It was the first one.
Okay.
So we had multiple irons in the fire. So the goal was to open 3 retails and do a grow and be vertically integrated and all that. After everything, we were able to get one open down on the Cape. That went great. It's about doing cool stuff with cool people, right? I'm a social equity applicant.
Right.
My investor, right before we opened, got indicted. Turns out he was a huge cryptocurrency Ponzi scheme dude.
Oh my.
I had no clue.
Yeah. He
So-
was funding. He was like, here's a $1
He
million.
funded it.
Yeah.
Everything was great. We were about to open. He gets indicted. I'm like, okay, this is great. We have to get him and this other guy off the company. We open. We get going for a couple of years. They want to use my social equity status to do home delivery and social consumption.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
But they just-
status.
They didn't want to pay me for that, and they wanted me to do all the work.
Right.
And I was like, this doesn't work for me, bro. Like, so
See a lot of people coming in with money, being like, "Hey, who could I partner with social equity and not pay them anything to?"
Yeah.
Well, that Jesse story, I didn't know about that Jesse story.
oh yeah. So
that's
there's a lot of dirt that happens
Yeah.
in this industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm aware of a lot of it, but
Oh, yeah.
these are the days before when I was here, so I'm like so interested in like what was happening back then when adult use just started with coming up, you know.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, I guess, so there are some traditional market people who are in the industry, but they're spread all around from your network, anyways, right?
Yeah.
So Cape Cod Cannabis. Then I know you probably more intimately because Cape Cod, it was kind of like you were working with like maybe our wholesale people or something like that, and then Trade Routes,
Yeah. Well,
Jesse's spot.
yep. So,
You were just helping them out, kind of thing. Or?
well, what happened was when I was with with Cape Cod Cannabis, they wanted my licenses. I told them, hey, these are worth money. They didn't believe me. So I made a deal with Elevated Roots.
Wait a second, we were Elevated Routes and then Trade Routes.
Yeah. So, well,
that's-
I was with Trade Routes first and then Elevated
Oh,
Roots.
that's what
so
it was. Okay.
I made my deal with Elevated Roots so that we could do home delivery and social consumption together. I left Cape Cod Cannabis, went over to work at Trade Routes until we could get the home delivery up and going. We knew it was going to take years to get that going. So I had time to do something. And Jesse, only vertically integrated social equity company at the time. His GM was going on maternity leave. I needed a job, and I didn't want to stay. I didn't want to be bored. I wanted to learn more on the cultivation and the manufacturing side. So I went over there. I thought it was going to be longer, but then about a year into working with Jesse and those guys, Elevated Roots told me, hey, we actually want to go ahead and do home delivery. So we want you to come over. We want to get this off the ground. So I left Trade Roots, went and worked with Elevated Roots for a year to get home delivery going. We got our HCAs. We were ready to open. But then after looking at all the rules, like we were trying to get rid of this 2-driver rule, which that worked out well, but eventually. There's so many no towns around where
Kingston?
Kingston and Abington. It didn't, when we went to actually go pull the trigger, when we looked at all the regulations and we looked at the opportunity and we just couldn't figure out a way for it to actually make financial sense.
Yeah.
It would have been great for me, not great for Elevated Roots.
Yeah.
So we would have been kind of taking away from our current customers. Basically.
Yeah. And there's so many things, there's like so much to unpack there, because there is like, you mentioned a bunch of names there, which are just reminiscent of the early days when I was coming into the market. So it's triggering a lot of memories here. Let's maybe start with, since you went to Trade Roots right after Cape Cod Cannabis, how are you feeling now about Trade Roots?
So sad.
Jesse just must beat you up. It just must beat you up inside, right?
Yeah. I mean, these are the people that...
good guys.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
The whole team over there is great. They have an amazing facility.
It was the first time I ever saw that the plants were growing when you walked in the door.
Talk about if we could turn that place into like a brewery, where
That's
people
what you
can come
need.
in and see it
Like
and
a
buy it
self-consumption
and then go out to the back and smoke it or out front or build a roof deck or something. That will eventually be amazing. But we look at regulations, and when you force people to open up on a dead-end street in an industrial park, and you have all these crazy rules and everything, it just makes it so difficult.
The location part is everything. I mean, it's interesting to see that you were even looking at Boston at one point, went to the Cape, and you have license holders, and you obviously, because of your experience and as an entrepreneur, you had cash, so you were like, hey, let's try to figure something out. But even then, you probably knew location is going to be important. And even when you get to Elevated Roots and like, hey, let's do home delivery, but it's like, if there's a bunch of no towns around it, for the audience, they don't understand that. Basically, it means that like, yes, you can sell it to people in Kingston, but not Abington.
Yeah.
Right. So even though it's like 5 minutes over the border or whatever, I don't know the actual geography there, but like, you can't sell it to any of the surrounding town, and so you're really only selling it to that one municipality, Kingston, and there's already a store in Kingston. So it's like, well, you can get delivery or you can get... So it's like such a smaller market there because of it. Right?
Exactly.
So a lot of delivery operators, even back then, the dispensaries, the brick and mortars were fighting against delivery. They were like, we don't want delivery. Not all of them, of course, but like there's a vocal few that were like, we don't want delivery because it's going to ruin our business.
Yep.
Right? Because people are going to want to get delivered instead of coming into the store. So, but again, location is everything, right?
Yes.
And so even for delivery operators, which we'll get to a little more detail in a second, the location for them is really important because you got to put it in a place where it actually has yes towns around you. Because otherwise, you're going to be starting a bunch of no towns. You're like, well, I'm delivering to the town I'm in. That's basically my life now. But before we go too deep into the delivery side, Trade Roots, great group over there. Obviously, I'm close to those guys as well. Over the years, they were the first company to bring in our drinks again, one of the first. So we're very happy. We've always had a good relationship with them. The move to Elevated Roots was due to like licenses, basically, like home delivery. We're dedicated to this, blah blah blah. You get to the starting line.
Yeah,
I always say starting line because it's like you spend
You're right.
a year and a half doing something and you can't even make any money yet.
Yep.
So the starting line, you get to that starting line and you don't fire the gun. You're just like, we're pausing.
Yep.
So did you make a pivot right from Elevated Roots from there, or you hung on to Elevated Roots? You're like, hey, it's still a job, but I can still help here. So
No, so basically, at that point in time, it didn't make sense since it didn't make sense for us to do home delivery, we just put a pin in it.
Okay.
We might come back to it. I still love those guys. We still have social consumption on the table. So they have a great place in
And
Abington.
they have Halifax now too.
Yeah. So they have 3 locations, great team. So we have our deal in place. If we ever decide to move forward with home delivery, I'll be their guy. If we decide to do social consumption, I'm their guy. We have some deals for that.
It's kind of like you're self-employed though. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You're doing all these deals across all these crazy things because it's you're just trying to, I guess, I don't know, for lack of a better term, hustle. Like you're a hustler. You just are always in the grind.
I just do cool stuff with cool
Just
people.
cool stuff with cool people.
That's where it comes down to, man. So
So you see something, you're like, I want to do that because it's cool people. It's a cool thing to do.
yeah, it's not good enough just to do cool stuff. I learned that with Cape Cod Cannabis, right? So I love the team I worked with, but my investor, it's not cool. Like, you told me you were one thing, something else happened. Now, every day I go to work, I'm afraid that there's going to be yellow tape around the building. And I'm like, you know what? I wanted to get out of there as soon as possible too. Plus, so they try to take advantage of me for my social equity license. I still own 3% of that company, or a little under maybe, but I'm not involved in the day-to-day. I wish them well. I went on to do bigger and better things, right?
Yeah,
So what I learned from Trade Roots is the manufacturing side of the business is where to be at, right? So through my consulting company, I've been working with Irva, with my boy Ruben,
Yeah, we're going to get to all that stuff.
since the beginning. I was the first dispensary to bring his CBD products in.
Yeah.
He is a caregiver, hash maker,
Yep.
amazing guy who also has a micro business license. At that point, he had just landed the Packwoods deal when the elevated roots delivery, we decided not to move forward with delivery. So he needed help with sales and marketing on Packwoods. And I'm like, this just made so much sense.
It's awesome.
So that's when I went full time on with Irva, which is actually called Legacy Operations. That's our management company.
Okay.
So we manage and all of the licenses.
So you're one of the owners of that side of it too now? Or?
I'm a partner with him.
Yeah.
So it's his company. He's the owner.
He's been there for.
He's the president.
Yeah.
So, but I'm like his right hand man.
Got it. Yeah, because that's the thing is like again like I said, lack of a better term, hustler. But I more meant like you're just active.
Yeah.
And you're always making deals happen. That's what it sounds like.
And it's teamwork, right? So it's all teams. I do what I do well, and I just do that with other teams.
Got it. Okay. So it's like bringing in kind of like that experience, entrepreneurship, but also just that level-headedness of getting a team together and getting things working on, like focused on a goal kind of thing, and just like getting them all lined up. That's kind of like your superpower in a sense.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, one way.
So let's get into some of the new stuff. So Packwoods deal.
Yep.
So that seems like a big deal to even get that. So that was done before you joined, but like that was just as it was happening, right? Kind of thing.
It was all part of it. It was all so we go way back with Packwoods from the traditional days. We love everything they do. They wanted to come to the market earlier. And to be honest with you, like when I opened up Cape Cod Cannabis, the market wasn't ready for Packwoods, right? The prices were too high, the quality was too low, consistency's always been an issue, but even back then it was even more of an issue. So we felt like the market wasn't ready for it. It just seemed like all the stars aligned where, the quality has come up, the prices have gone down. I've gained the experience and the connections that I needed from the retail side and from everything I've done up until that point where it just all clicked. So,
because I'm hearing that, like, because people are, when I look at some of the data and when I also talk to certain, owners of dispensaries who have, we have a good relationship with, so they'll tell me like, inside baseball kind of numbers. I hear things like, we're growing on baskets, but we're not necessarily growing on basket size. Like there's a lot more people going in and enjoying these products, but it's basically just still the same amount of revenue we're making because of the price compression, right?
Yeah.
Are you hearing trends like that?
So Yeah, here's the great thing. Like, because I come from both the traditional and I have the legal market, I understand the market in a whole. What we've seen in the retail side, it's not the entire cannabis industry, bro.
Well, I was going to ask you that. Like, is there still a thriving kind of traditional market?
Yes, there is. So
Is it thriving, or is it kind of
thriving.
suppressed?
It's thriving.
Thriving.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Like, now that cannabis has become more mainstream, you know, there's going to be quality and convenience are the two things, right?
Yep.
So the people who spend the most amount of money on cannabis, the connoisseurs, they typically don't shop in dispensaries, because if you're a flower smoker, you're willing to spend good money, you know, for 35, 40, anything above there nowadays is considered good money for an eighth. When you buy that, you want to make sure that you get what you're paying for. And so many people in the legal cannabis industry don't know how to buy weed. You can't buy
the buyer side.
Yeah, you can't buy weed off of a spreadsheet.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
flour. You can buy finished goods and everything, but so unless if you're hand selecting, because the nose knows, right? So when I go to buy for our deli, or when I buy for my finished goods, I'm a curator, not a cultivator. I have the luxury to say no to everybody. So I can go tour and get my hands on it and smell it and look at it. I'm not counting on some fake test result. Anybody can sell off a price or potency.
Right.
That's the old way to do stuff.
Right.
So if you're a real connoisseur and you go to a dispensary and you spend a lot of money on flower and you're getting something that's dry, that doesn't have a nose, no bag appeal, a bunch of smalls,
Right.
you're paying A prices, you're never going to go back to that dispensary.
No,
you lose that customer.
Yeah.
So that's why.
With the buying side, like Green Soul.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's obviously a dispensary that you guys just opened up as well. But you're the type of buyer who's going to go to the cultivation, smell it. You won't buy anything until you actually can verify that it's actually high quality.
Correct. By us being the curators and the tastemakers, we're putting our stamp of approval on this batch of flower.
Right.
And for us to be able to do that, that's how we're already, within 6 weeks, we're already up to 200 people a day.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Our goal is 600.
How many other stores are around that area?
You know, it's Cambridge, so I have Yamba was right there. I'm in Central Square, right where Yamba was.
Whoa. I didn't realize.
Western Front's right there. Yeah.
Western Front. Yamba, obviously. Just,
Blue River Terps.
Blue River Terps is there.
Yeah, Kush Groove.
Kind of
AYR in Davis from May to May on Little Arts did over $10 million. I'm between MIT and Harvard. I have such a diverse clientele of people that walk by. And the license holder there is my big homie Tava. Okay. He's from that area.
Okay.
That's his neighborhood. So he has all his regular people that come over there.
And they know they're going to get something good.
Yeah. And when you're a tastemaker and you know, like when the customers know that this is going to be good, they have no problem coming and spending every day.
Absolutely. And so that's the thing, is that like that's the customer experience. So I tell dispensaries all the time, focus on your customers, and you have a connect directly in Central Square. So that makes a ton of sense. Because even when like Yamba closed like a month ago, like I don't remember, that was a recent story. I was like, how can you not make it work in a city like Cambridge of all places, right?
They made $15 million. They were seeing 600 people a day.
Yeah.
I think from what I hear, it was mismanagement. The only people that didn't get paid were the investors and the vendors. That's not a good way to run your business.
Oh, we know vendors didn't get paid.
Yeah, I'm owed money.
Yeah, we took a little bit of a hit on that one. Not a huge one, but I definitely was calling people. I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
You know, as I do, because as the owner, you got to track down the money. It's my money. You know what I mean? Like you bought it, right? And I think an old advisor used to always tell me this, which I do take to heart, which is like, if people aren't paying you, like they're taking food off your table. Like that's your money. Like you earned it. You did the work to get the sale. You did the work, and they sold through all the product for you. Like it's not like it sat on the shelf. They have to pay you, right? And so I take that advice to heart, because I'm just like, that's why. So when I immediately hear some news about something that be happening, I'm jumping on the phone right away, being like, I got to track down this money, because I got to be first in line at this point, right?
Oh yeah.
In often cases, vendors are last in line, unfortunately, in this industry.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't typically follow the typical bankruptcy procedure, because we're debt holders.
Mm-hmm.
It's our money, they have to pay that first before they pay their equity investors, right? That equity is always the way it gets paid out, but for some reason it doesn't happen here in this industry.
It's just the cannabis industry, like we can't sell cross state lines, we can't write off any business expenses, there's no bankruptcy protection.
Yep.
Like no regular loans. Like they give us, it's the toughest industry to operate in. It's like we were dealing with like plutonium or something. Like the regulations, it's insane at the hurdles that we have to overcome, and still it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And
1.6 billion a year.
so, I mean, that's one of the great things. Like for people that know how to operate, there's a lot of opportunity here.
Yeah.
But for people that think it's an easy way to get rich quick, they'll find out it's a quick way to lose a small fortune.
This episode is brought to you by Good Feels, makers of Good Vibes, the fast-acting tincture that actually delivers. Whether you're into classic flavors like grape, blue raz, or strawberry, or want to try our brand new 1,000 milligram mango guava, we've got a vibe for every taste. Just pop it into your drink and feel it kick in fast. None of the wait, all the feels. Available now in 500 milligrams or 1,000 milligrams bottles across Massachusetts dispensaries or at getgoodfeels.com. As always, 21 plus only, and please consume responsibly.
So
Don't think too short term, man.
yeah, and there's a
We're
lot of
talking about like a 15-year plan here. We originally started with a 5-10-year plan. Now we're like a 15-20-year plan.
Yeah.
This is a long-term game.
in my opinion, the money isn't in selling products. The money is in building the brand. I look at like selling B2B as kind of like being on the block back in the day.
Yeah, because you're dealing with all different types of brands. You've got the Chill Group here. Shout out to David. You got the Packwoods Group. You got obviously Herba stuff.
And Beantown Greentown is our nonprofit too.
Beantown Greentown. I know that one. Yeah. That's more
weed, less greed.
Yeah,
let's go.
That's awesome, dude. That's
Yeah.
one of those headies.
Yeah, those are our 4 in-house brands. Everyone speaks to something else. It all started with Herba, health and wellness, tinctures, topicals, and temple ball hash.
Yeah, I was gonna say the hash. He definitely got the couple temple balls.
That's the foundation. That's our health and wellness brand. Packwoods is our luxury brand. It's the Rolls Royce of the cannabis industry. So hand rolled premium inputs, the best of the best. Yes, sir.
That's effort. That's work. Right?
This is from connoisseurs. We're not run by accountants. That's the big difference.
Right, not a spreadsheet.
We have glass tips for every product except the mini burst.
Nice.
Our joint and our blunt has 2 different glass tips because the joint is a finer grind. So we have to have a little cross in there so you don't get any Scooby snacks. And that's how we're run by connoisseurs. And that's what makes the little difference.
Well, it's, going back to your history, though, it really is, obviously all the way back to 15, which is incredible. For anybody who's coming in new, they don't have all that behind them.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard to beat. It's going to be hard to beat you. You know what I mean?
Well, not me. Look at it's again teamwork.
Team. Sorry.
Team in our management group combined, we have over 100 years of experience of making and selling cannabis products.
Wow. So does your management group kind of like do deals? Like they're the ones who kind of put the deals together, obviously with you.
It's us. Yeah.
Us, right? The we here, the plural. And when you're putting together these deals, like what are you looking for? Are you looking to bring any more in right now? Like a couple deals in the plate right now?
So we just launched Connecticut.
Hey, all right.
I have my manufacturing license down there. So
fantastic. Dude, you're always moving. Oh my God.
I'm looking forward to bringing a lot of brands down there.
That's fantastic.
We have our New York license in manufacturing that we're building out.
Nice.
So what I want to do is eventually replicate what I used to have back in the day, where New England is kind of my domain, where I get to do cool stuff with cool people, man. That's what it's all about.
Fantastic. Yeah. So with all the different brands here, because they're all laid out on the table here, I guess which one is like the one that you're like, pumped about right now? Like something you just launch or anything like that?
Yeah. So those Packarillos, you see the middle, Packwoods is like what I personally smoke on a daily basis.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
So this is the best of the best. It's like, top shelf.
Yeah, the Packwoods thing, for me, I always think to myself, I think of them like a blunt wrapper type of company. I didn't realize that there's a full like history behind this too, right?
Oh yeah.
So take me through that for a second. Like, how did those dudes even start? Like, They're West Coast, I'm assuming, right?
New York boys that moved out and launched their brand in the West Coast because that's the only place you could launch back then.
Right.
They had years of R&D, we'll call it, where, they used to use backwoods and they would hand roll and they would dip it in wax. You can
That's
see
I see the drips.
the drip.
Yep.
Yeah, we're a drippy brand, bro. We roll different, So everything we do, from our vapes to everything, has a little drip on it.
That's super cool.
So it's always been for the connoisseurs, right? It's always been for the celebrities, the athletes, the people that can afford a $50 hand rolled blunt.
Exactly. Well, that's like you said, there's an audience for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So like you just have to find that audience and you got to be with them versus trying to be like everything to everybody.
Yes.
It's not going to work.
100%.
So brand building is kind of like core DNA for you.
Correct.
Like even back in the traditional market, were you trying to build brands even back then?
Yeah, I still have a couple in the that I'm working on. I want to do one for my mom eventually. She used to make these macaroons, so I want to make one for her. But leaving something behind, man. Like I look at this like when Prohibition ended. I have an opportunity right now where I can build brands that will last long past me. And when people are looking in the history books, they're like, oh, who started this one or who launched this and all that, and hopefully my name will pop up somewhere. I want to be remembered.
I feel the same way. I like that because I always think that's why I keep on going back to like a 15-20 year plan, and I keep on telling people because I'm on the older side of things. Like this might be my last company. This might be the one that I finish my career with. Just like I'm gonna be here for a long time.
Yeah.
So for me, it's really about maybe because I do think of it like the prohibitionist days for alcohol, where it's just like those brands were formed potentially even while it was prohibited.
Yes.
Before it was legal, and then when it crossed over, you get some of these brands popping up that like people already knew about. Now they're going and seeking those brands out again.
Exactly.
License side. Wow.
Yeah.
So it's the Packarillos, or is it the?
So the Packarillos, the classic blunt is what we're known for.
If the classic, grab it. Yeah.
So this is our little brand book. So this is what we're known for with the keef on the outside. Packwoods is now in 3 countries. So we're in Thailand, we're in Canada, we're in America, we're in 15 states for our THC products. Our hemp products are everywhere.
Right.
Our merch is in Zoomies. We've done collabs.
Jeez, that's funny. It's like
in the mall. Yeah. So we've done collabs with Cookies, Sherbinski, 7 Leaves, Gas House, you name it. But this is what
the glass tip and everything.
Yeah. So this is our baby. So it's got 2 grams of premium flower. We hand select this stuff. I spend a lot of money on my flower, and that's what makes us different than other brands out there. And then it's got live resin inside, keef outside, hand rolled, glass tip. This is the Rolls Royce.
So what makes that? I would say because everybody. I remember back in the day when I first started, like, oh, I've got this master grower, and he's been growing in his basement for 20 years, and they try to scale it up, it kind of fails. Or everybody has a master grower, and everybody has all these great, genetics and all these other things. People are always trying to hype up their specific stuff. When you're going out and hand selecting all these things, I get that part of it, but like, what about the brands that are like that do have high quality stuff? Why aren't they getting to the market as much? Because it seems like you guys are doing fantastic. Is it distribution? Like, what's going on here?
There's so many different factors of it. And first of all, like, shout out to all the growers out there.
Absolutely. I can't do it.
I can't either. I've never been a grower. I've been a curator, right? So I get the luxury to go into every licensed place in Massachusetts, and I'm looking for different things everywhere, right? And I can be surprised. So I might go to some place looking for one particular thing. Like if we're doing banana flambe, I'm looking for something with a banana terp, right? But I might see something else that I see there that's really good, and I'll just scoop that up. But consistency has been the problem in Massachusetts. And the regulations make it so difficult to grow at scale.
Yeah.
You can't take something that in a closet and replicate it in a 100,000 square foot facility. So you have to do a lot of work of dialing it in and figuring out what products can be produced on a commercial level that will still give the same quality. Right. And that's where I give a shout out to all the ones that are doing it right. But growing fireweed is only half the problem. post-harvest is the other half of the problem. So like I see a big issue in Massachusetts is after you grow it, they don't have enough people that can trim it and package it, and by the time it gets passed through testing, gets out to the stores, is it packaged right? Is it like, so I've seen harvest where half of the harvest is great, and then the other half, I don't know, the B team got their hands on it, or you know, something happened, and like it's like, hey, this was all at one point fire. You had potential. I'll buy this batch, but keep that over there. Wow. You know, so.
That's wild, because I think about it all the time, because people are like, craft this, craft that, and like, oh, the MSO grows like whatever, and we're the best, and but it's like, but that's like you said, that's half the story. You can grow fire wheat, but actually getting it onto the market and still make it beef fire is different. That's a different activity, because even if you might even be able to trim and cure and trim and everything beautifully as well, but if you don't have sales and distribution,
correct,
it's still
in marketing. There's so much that goes into this, and you know how hard it is, like to build a brand, and then to, like when I launched Backwoods, we had 100 stores that wanted us right away, and luckily these guys they're in so many states and they've done this so many times that they learned. And they limited me to only launching with 50.
Wow. And
that's because selling them is only half the battle. Then as a brand, we have to support the stores.
Oh, absolutely.
If you don't...
everybody has to go through that learning lesson, I feel.
These displays aren't cheap, bro.
No, they're not.
So we have to... The money we do on pop-ups and paying a BA good money to travel and then give out samples and swag and all this stuff.
We track numbers for everything, I know, as best as we can, of course, because a lot of this isn't. But we estimate it costs $300 to $400 to set a brand ambassador.
Yeah,
easily. It's about accurate, kind of.
Accurate, yeah.
So $300 to $400, you're setting a person out. They're driving like an hour to go to a store. They're setting up for 3 hours, up to 3 hours or whatever, and they're seeing a bunch of customers. Like, at what point do you say it's not worth going to the store anymore?
It depends on partnerships, right?
The people?
So everything. So your brand ambassador, if they're going there and just checking a box and they're not a real brand ambassador, you're not going to see the same numbers.
I've seen brand ambassadors looking at their phones when I walk in, and I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you here?
Like,
I feel like calling the owner and be like, I still know the owner and be like,
I still do pop-ups. And Ben from number 9 was at Green Soul yesterday doing a pop-up. Nice. So like, it's important for people who are involved in the brand, like, to actually be out there and teach the bud tenders the talking points of each brand.
Well, I think that goes to show, again, your work ethic is impeccable, simply because you're also not afraid to do the groundwork.
Yeah,
that's, you have to, right? And I feel like that's a lot of people are missing in this market, is the fact that, like, and you come off super humble about it too. You're not being like, oh man, I'm the owner and I'm gonna do this brand ambassador pop-up thing. You're like, no, this is my brand, I'm going to promote my brand, right?
Yeah.
It almost kind of goes back to those traditional days where you're like, I got to be the one moving this too.
I'm proud of what I do.
Yeah, there you go.
I love my products. Who else can do it better than me? I got to lead by example.
Absolutely.
If I'm not doing it and I expect my team to go do it and I'm not teaching them how to do it, like, you know, I'm going to get whatever I get. But if I'm out there setting the standard, then nobody can tell me anything. And if I'm doing a pop-up and I can move the needle here, if I pay you to go do that pop-up, you better go move that needle too.
Right.
And if I pop in on your pop-up, I better not see you on the phone.
Right, exactly. So that's one of the things that we're encouraging right now. It's just like, hey, let's go out and see so even after the pop-up is done, let's go check out like how the bud tenders were, like, everybody was cool. Was it good? How many people did you see? Like, you know, all that stuff. But would you ever pull the plug on a store where you're just like, hey, we saw like 10 people walk through the door in those 3 hours? This conversation.
No, I mean, it's all depends on the store. If they're willing to work with me, like, there's 2 factors of a pop-up. Sure, we want to sell units, right?
Of course. Well, you've been on the retail side too, so that's what I'm asking. Right?
Yeah.
You're still on the retail side.
Yeah. So like, we want to move units, but it's also about bud tender education. If you do a good job at a pop-up, you should see the numbers rise over the next couple of days as well.
Yeah, we'll see that. Yeah.
So it's up to us. Did we do everything? Did we give them a bundle to push? Are we supporting them? Are they putting in? Are they paying on time? Are they putting in nice orders? Yeah. Like, it's a two-way street. You know, like, we don't want to be with every partner.
No.
We want to be with the right brands, the ones that are going to support us the same way that we support them.
Yeah, focus on those, grow those accounts, because if you service them really well, again, it goes back to the dispensary thing I said earlier, focus on your customers. And if you focus on your customers, don't worry about what your neighbor's doing.
Yeah.
Let them fail on their own.
Yeah.
You got to think that long-term strategy of being there for your customers and getting their needs done. But it also goes to the marketing side, where you're just like, hey, you got to be there promoting the brand, and obviously at a really high level. And yeah, it's not always just about units, but I do feel that people do owe us money. You know, receivables is a thing.
Yes.
And so sometimes we had to pull out a few times being like, listen, you know, we like you guys, but you still owe us like 8K, 12K, whatever it is. So like, unless you're clearing this up, like, we can't support the store anymore.
Yeah, I'm not your bank.
We're loaning people money.
Yeah, if you want a loan, I can give you a number.
Exactly.
I need my money.
Exactly.
I'm a drug dealer when it comes down to it, right?
Yeah.
There's no award for giving out the most amount of weed.
I love it. It. So when it comes to that stuff, though, do you guys, obviously everybody has AR issues. Do you guys do terms? Like, are you COD only?
No, we do terms. I mean, but I do a credit check, you know, where, and my credit check is simple. I just check your menu and I see who you're selling, and I call them like, hey, do these guys owe you money?
Exactly.
How are they to work with? And I know everybody in the industry. So
that's a benefit of going. So that's why I think that I probably should have started even sooner on my end, which is going to all the events, networking with a bunch of people, just getting to know everybody more. And it took me a little bit of time, but then eventually I kind of caught on to it, because you make those phone calls and it clarifies everything. You're like, oh, I'm not going to sell it to this person. Right?
Yeah.
Like, we've been better about not getting burned. But occasionally it still does kind of, you know, seep through the cracks a little bit. Do you use those services like CCA, like was it Cannabis Credit Association that does all the AR? So
luckily I haven't had to use them to collect any money, because nobody owes us any money like that.
Oh, good.
Anybody, because we're very selective about who we sell to.
You narrow it down to the 50 stores.
You know, I have good relationships with everybody. Sure, people owe us money, but as long as they're communicating with us and making payments and being partners, we're going to be partners too.
Yeah.
And I've had to cut people off, and Yamba closed and they owed me a little money, and Leaflux closed and he owed me some money. But besides those two, I really haven't had any issues with AR.
Yeah, so this is going to our fourth year, I want to say, third year into fourth year. And, you know, we had Harmony, we had Society. There were some of those earlier stores that, like, a couple of first stores that had just closed, kind of thing.
Yep.
And a couple of stores got taken over by somebody else, and they ended up paying us too, which is awesome. I was like, I wasn't expecting the money, but thank you.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, at that point, are we doing small claims court? Like, there's all this, like, I don't want to send anybody to small claims court, but you kind of have to at some point.
Yeah.
So we've done a few of those activities, but we were starting to get into the CCA, which is the Cannabis Credit Association, so we can see everybody's receivables. Right. And you can look up a name, a dispensary, and be like, oh, they're overdue $100,000 net 90 or whatever, or 90 days past their terms.
Yeah.
Like, we probably shouldn't be selling to these people. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. I've seen the service. I like the service. Luckily, because I have enough connections, I am the service. Yeah. You know, like,
just call Derek next time. You're like, hey, Derek, this person paid.
But yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
So how many stores, so there's approximately 400 dispensaries, specifically in Massachusetts. I know you got Connecticut cooking, you got New York cooking. Like, what's the game plan for, maybe even Packwoods? Like, are you looking to get to like all 400 at some point, or you're just like,
I don't think we're ever going to be, we're in about 100 now. I don't think we're ever going to be in all 400. There are certain strategic relationships. We don't want to be everywhere, right? So, like you said, there's always, until the AR stuff gets taken care of, we definitely won't be in all of them. But as long as they're in a good location and they're paying their bills and their staff knows how to sell weed, like with Packwoods, we're not for everyone. If the owner isn't a cannabis person and the staff only sells the cheapest stuff in the menu, I'm probably not the product for you.
Not a good fit.
I'm Gucci, your Target.
Right, exactly. You can buy a T-shirt in both, but
yeah,
some people just, they want Gucci shirts.
Yeah, so in there, Beantown, Greentown, right. Irva,
yep,
those are great, you know, but you know, I have something for everyone. I don't have to have every brand in every single store.
Absolutely.
So when I talk to the stores, I look at what they currently have on their menu, what holes they're looking to fill. And, you know, if they're trying to raise their average ticket, they probably want to bring in Packwoods because it's a higher price point and it brings in a higher spending connoisseur.
What do you put up for MSRP for these?
So everything is like around $50 for like the big boys.
The MSRP? Just whatever.
You own it.
Yeah,
You buy
it.
You can sell for whatever you want.
You don't have any qualms about it.
No, I mean,
Do you ever get dispensaries coming back at you and be like, hey, they're selling for 50.
I've had it.
For 40.
I'm like, hey, listen, I'm always been a straight shooter. Everybody pays the same price.
Right.
I have certain bundles. If you're going to give me enough shelf space where you're buying one case of everything and you're on COD, you're getting a 20% discount. So if you
That's a steep discount.
yeah, so if you can then be 20% cheaper than your competition.
Right. But you got to do the bundle. You got to get all of it. Right.
And in return, I'll give you comfortable terms. Just talk to me, bro.
That's the worst.
Every 3 weeks, let's check in. And if the product's sold, pay me.
Well, it's funny because I see these stories happening in real time. Sometimes on like LinkedIn, people are like blasting people and all this other stuff. Oh my God. Well, the crazy thing is,
What do you think about that?
well, to me, from my perspective, I think, again, I'm in the light of positivity. Even I posted on LinkedIn yesterday and somebody was just like, was this AI generated this image? And I'm like, yeah, who cares? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to hire one of I've got 2 freelance designers. I work with an agency. I get all these designers around me. I'm not a good designer, but I'm also not about to call them up and be like, hey, can you do a LinkedIn post for me?
Exactly.
Like, just throw a fucking AI image up. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
And there's a handful of people who got super bent out of shape. And I was like, I just wish you the best day because I don't really need this negativity in my life.
I know. Isn't it crazy?
But when that stuff was popping off, I literally was just like, fuck. I want to participate because I'm also like,
they owe me money too.
the person owes me money too, and they're ghosting us right now.
Yeah.
Not really a fan of that.
Yeah.
Like, again, if you're opening your 3rd store at this point, like, and it's actively being constructed and you've got money for all that, you maybe overextended yourself. I don't know what was going on because that's happened before. I remember back in the day, someone who I think is still paying us like $500 a month, but also is paying it like every 5 months at this point. Like, they just can't even get their act together.
Yeah.
They were like doing a grow at one point, then opening a 2nd store. And I'm like, guys, you still owe like so much money to all these people. I'm not the only one you owe money to, right? And I'm not talking about the same groups, of course, but in this particular case, I thought it was funny because I know everybody in that thread, and of course, we're not going to name any names here, but like, it was funny because that company also owes us money too. So the company who owes, it was calling out that person, they owe us money too. So I'm like, I don't know whose side am I on now. Like,
I know.
It's like, it's cool.
Well, if that person pays that person, maybe you get paid.
Exactly.
That's the trickle down effect.
It's just funny because it's like, yeah, you guys owe us like, more money actually than they do. And it's like, 60 days overdue at this point. Like, you guys could pay us even, So it's because, but wholesale doesn't talk, especially large companies, MSOs, wholesale doesn't talk to the buyers of the stores and
I know.
yada, yada, yada. And the accounting teams are just like, I just pay what comes in.
These MSOs seem like they're the worst offenders.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
there's some good ones. To be fair, I'm sure you sell to a couple ones who are just like, they pay either COD or they pay on terms, tied on terms. We have some MSOs we work with that pay us like 10 days early.
Oh,
and we're like,
nice.
Fantastic. Thank you. We'll keep, because if the product moves, they want to keep us happy too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if it's moving and all this stuff is working, then let's everybody keep happy. But maybe they are not so in terms of everybody else. Which is why I'm always the person on the phone when something goes down where I'm like, I got to be first in line.
Yep.
Like, I got to know the details because if you're open and transparent with me, I'll work with you. But if you're not, like, and when somebody asks me for a reference, I'm not giving that reference, basically, in other words.
Yeah.
Because it's your reputation will precede you at that point. You know what I mean? You just don't burn people and be actively, participating in the conversation and building a relationship, not necessarily ghosting. Ghosting is the worst.
It is.
That is just the worst.
Common courtesy, man.
Just return a call.
Yeah.
Return an email.
Yeah,
like,
it's
just
not that hard.
Hey, got your email. Can't pay you.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
But we'd rather hear that.
Yeah.
And come up with a plan.
Yeah.
To make sure we do get paid.
100%. I think the craziest thing. Shout out to Traders again. They handled the best.
Nice.
I don't know if you had a product in their store at the time, but we did, and we were selling really well in their store. We were at some point 7 to 8, over sometimes 10% of their revenue for the day.
Yeah.
In our products. And Carl wrote a very nice email. He's like, you're probably not going to see any money. Sorry. But at least he wrote it and said it in a way where it's just like, some people are just like, they lose my number all of a sudden. You know, like I disappear off the planet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's sad.
And I feel for those guys 100% because, you know, like I said, they're one of the early supporters of our brand and our product. And apparently what I heard was blindsided literally everybody.
Yeah.
Nobody knew that was going to happen. But anyways, that's all the bad news of the industry. What's trending right now? What's hot? Like, what are you looking at right now? Obviously, your products are hot, but like, what are you seeing in the future right now? Do you have any predictions of what's going to happen?
Yeah. So getting back to the overall market, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of good operators out there. Like when I left Cape Cod Cannabis and started traveling and working at other places and then getting into the manufacturing side and really seeing the different ways everybody operates, I was like, my mind was blown. I was like, wait a minute. I thought, like, given the regulations, I thought this is the way to run a business, right? Like, and then when I started seeing how everybody else runs it, I realized there's some really good ones and some really bad ones out there.
Yeah.
So I think that the ones that have it dialed in, right? Location.
Yeah, 100%.
And then it's people, process, product, right? So if you have a good location and then you have good people and you have a great process, you're going to have a great product or service. And it's $1 billion industry. There's going to be people that are going to come in that love what they do, are surrounded by people that love what they do, and they're going to all rise to the top.
How big's your team right now?
I have multiple teams.
Under your
all together.
Yes, I guess marketing is your department?
Yeah, sales and marketing is kind of what I do. All together, like, I have small teams and everyone, but together it's probably 30, 40 people.
Are you actively hiring?
Yeah.
What qualities do you look for in a person when you're hiring them?
First, the main thing is why do you want to be in the cannabis industry?
Right, of all industries.
Yeah. So, because at the end of the day, being in the industry, no matter where you are, whether you're manufacturing, retail, whatever you're doing, it's just like being in a regular manufacturing or regular retail. The fun of working in cannabis wears off. So, like, for me, my thing is, like, when I have a bad day, I look at what I came from, and I'm like, oh, well, I wasn't shot at today. The worst thing that happened is I had a batch stuck in metric jail. Not jail.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
So
it's not in the police station right now.
So when I'm like looking at it like that, it makes it a lot easier to move forward, right? So where do people come from? Like, my goal with Green Path Consulting Group is to help people cross over from legacy to legal.
Yeah, you were saying that in the beginning.
So when I hire, I'm always looking at why. Where did you come from? You know, are you, what got you into the business? Why do you want to be in the business? And that why is the most important thing. And then, like, we can teach you how to do everything else if you want to learn. But the why is most important.
That's so interesting. Yeah, because, like, what is a good why, I guess? Is it just passion for the plant? Is it like...
That's it. That's what I'm looking for.
That's the big one, right?
Yep. Okay. And, everybody says it. But then when you dig into it, if it's a hobby or if it's something like, I like it, I've been smoking since I was whatever. Like, that could be it.
Sometimes it's okay.
Yeah.
They have other talents and they're really good at certain things.
Yeah, but I'm really looking for people that are passionate, that have goals, that want to do something. And then, they can start somewhere and they can move up.
Did you ever end up hiring any of the guys you used to work with in the traditional market?
Yeah, it's...
Did it get weird? Because they were like, hey, this is how we do things, right? And you're like, no, it's the licensed market.
We are in the compliance industry so that we can sell some cannabis. Like, this is the very first thing I do when I sit down with people that I'm trying to cross over is I let them know you have to be all in. You can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you got to leave your past life behind you. And you need to get on board with the rules and regulations, because if you're not going to be compliant, then it's not going to work for you.
Have you ever had those conversations with the person who's like, I'm staying in the traditional market?
Yeah, I have a lot of people that are, when I break it down to them and I tell them, reality. This is what your day's going to look like. This is what you have to do. This is how much you're going to, how I work so much harder and make so much less money than I used to do.
And that's an honest to truth conversation you have with these people, because it is a fact. And that's the thing, is that like you go from maybe, you know, the traditional market, you have a, you know, idea of the income, you obviously have a really good idea of the risks involved. And then you come to the licensed market and you start as like a bud tender. That's a reality shock, I would say.
Yeah. And then they also realize how they don't know shit about, can I swear? Yeah. So yeah, they don't know anything about selling weed. Like they think they know.
Right.
But then when you really have to ask the right questions and learn what terpenes and cannabinoids are and make a good recommendation, when you can't just, hey, this is gas, or you should
That's
this
the
is
description,
fire.
this is gas,
Like, come on, bro. Like, you know, it's different, you know, like, so what I try to do is like, I look at like the Ritz-Carlton, gentlemen serving gentlemen, and you know, so like we want, when any customer comes in for retail side, they're asking for recommendations. We want to ask them multiple questions before we make a recommendation. When I secret shop and I'm asking for flower and they just immediately spit out what they like best, that's not good. I like spicy food, my wife doesn't.
Right.
So you didn't ask me, am I looking for candy or gas? You didn't ask me like if I like sun grown or indoor. Like you didn't ask me what effects I'm looking for or how I'm going to use it. Like you're just selling me at this point.
Yeah,
you're not making a recommendation.
You're just gonna throw off what do you like.
Yeah.
Because it feels good to you, but that person might have a really bad time with that one.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like a bud tender training programs, like
Ongoing
SOPs?
Before you get hired, I'm making sure you know what you're talking about. If you don't know the difference between live resin and disty, you better go study before you come work.
So do you like to hire people who are already in the industry to work for your store?
Doesn't have to be. I can train them if they are knowledgeable enough. Like you don't have to be industry experienced.
Yeah, we're so close
for you to know cannabis. Like if you're a traditional operator who's making good products or selling good and you know what you're doing, we can easily take those skills and cross it over to the legal market. And that's my advantage. When I have people that have that experience, that know what they're doing and love what they do, and they come and do that with me, that makes me stronger than my competitors.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's that stacking of bodies of like just really talented people.
Yeah.
Will get you way further. And we found that we feel the same way. Like we always try to say we have one of the best teams in cannabis because we're accrued just solid people. And, you know, one of our oldest employees, or the oldest employee, has been with us since day one. Nice. You know what I mean? So it's like they're not going anywhere because they have the passion for it, obviously. They actually came from the medical days, DPH days. So like they've been in it since like 2016, whatever. So they've seen kind of all the striations and variations over the years of like how this is kind of all shaped up. I'm actually interested perspective-wise if on the lobbying side, when it comes to the actual regulations that potentially could be changing. We just had this big lobby day. I don't know what you call it, like day for testimony. There's like 8 bills. No, there's like 20 bills, and 8 of them were just about like caps and stuff like that. Have you looked at any of those things?
Oh yeah. I mean,
which one are you in favor of, I guess?
Depends on which version of me you're asking, I guess, right? 'Cause I'm on both sides of the fence. With some
Exactly.
Of these
That
things,
makes
man.
sense because because you got your boy running Green Soul, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, are you in favor of like the raising the license caps, for instance, from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, or even to 9? I think has been proposed at this point.
You know, I think it's going to happen one day. I hope it doesn't happen right now. I think it's too early and it's going to destroy social equity and the smaller guys. I know there's some smaller guys that, you know, as a manufacturer and distributor, I think I would make my job a lot easier to have one group that has 10 dispensaries. You look at Connecticut, Fine Fettle.
It's 9 stores.
Yeah.
I just saw Eric talk about that.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I love Eric. He's great. But I mean, so however it plays out, I'm going to roll with the punches.
Yeah, that's the way we are too, because for us, it's like, even because I didn't give testimony that day, I went because I was just curious like how it all worked. And I had Ryan Dominguez on from the MCC to actually explain
I love him.
the civics.
Great guy.
Because he gave us a civics lesson. And I was like, I need this because I don't know how laws even get passed in Massachusetts. And there was steps, and we won't get into those. But I feel the same way, because even with a memo comes up from the CCC, and we're like, I think we're doing all this right, so we're just going to keep on doing what we're doing. And then we'll hear about, a competitor's doing this, or an investigator said this, and we're like, we can't control what everybody else does. We can only control what we do.
Exactly.
So like, let's just make sure we're doing the best we can every day, and don't worry about all this external stuff, because if it goes from 3 to 6 to 9 license cap to a cap for licenses, where one of the MSOs could come in and have 9 stores overnight, I don't have much control over that. So I'm just gonna figure out a way to like make this work for our company, right?
Yeah.
What about the allotments though? I think he'd probably be for something like that. So doubling it from 5 mgs to 10 mgs, and also from 1 ounce to 2 ounces in the W side.
So yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, tell me who's overdosed from cannabis again?
Exactly.
Do you limit how much alcohol you can buy?
Right.
Why are you?
There's no cap on alcohol, is there? Yeah. You can go in and buy cases of vodka.
Yeah, I can go fill up an 18-wheeler and bring it down to New York and do an after party out there. And the tax thing might happen, but besides that,
taxes.
There's nothing else going on. Like, so at the end of the day, like, we need to have smarter regulations. Let's treat this like alcohol. If you're an adult, let them buy whatever they want.
Right, exactly.
It's crazy.
Yeah, because some of those things that are coming up make manufacturers' lives easy, but they're also just common sense things in a sense, right? Because even like one of the things that I think about is the badging thing. It makes no sense. So you have to be badged for every single license, and it's attached to the company, not to the person.
I like what they're thinking about, Dylan, is the person becomes badged and
it sticks with them.
And it sticks with them, and then one can go work over. Yeah.
All these things. And so I think, especially and I always think about this from the cultivator perspective, if you have to hire like 20 trim people, and there's a bunch of people, bud tenders or whatever, that are just looking, so it's harvest, you're harvesting, you're trimming, whatever, all those just man hours, for lack of a better term, like the amount of work that goes into a harvest or into a trimming and all this other stuff, if you're going to do it right anyways, it'd be great to have just like a burstable staff, like, oh, I'm a tender of this dispensary, but I can come and totally help you trim.
With Elevated Roots, I felt like Rambo, because I had like Kingston 3 badges, Halifax,
Yeah, exactly. With 3 stores, you could have 3 badges.
Yeah,
because you can have vertical on top of it.
Yes, each store could have 3 badges if each store was vertically integrated. So I walk around with 9 badges here, and then I go over to Green Soul, I have to have my badges over there. It's
like Mr. T, just wait.
It's just ridiculous, but this is the life that we live.
Hey, you know what? Someone should make like a Mr. T knockoff, like big fat dookie chain, like, and then you put your agent registered badge on it.
I like it.
Just so people walk around like clipped in like that.
I would rock that. Oh, I brought you one of these too. I have the little Packwoods.
Well, it's very cool.
Yeah, we changed from Packwoods to Packs because Backwoods might have given us a cease and desist.
I was gonna ask about that because you keep on saying it's called Packs.
Packs is our new name.
Okay, so PACKS, not PAX. That's another old thing.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, I love those guys. We have our vapes too, but
Yeah, so PAX, that's interesting. So yeah, because that's when you get into the corporate side, right? You're not talking about like, oh, this is my territory, I'm running 18 wheelers to New York or whatever. This is like, okay, now we got to work with the concept of there are other commercial businesses that could literally sue you to death if you're not careful with how you.
The branding and like that's a very important lesson that we all learned.
Oh yeah, you learned it at some point. We learned it as well. We're kind of in the trademark process. There's you can't really trademark it, but you can kind of get in the queue. So when it does go legal, you're kind of in the queue already to get trademarked. So we get trademarks of good feels, good vibes, etc. But like the way I look at that stuff is, I think about the store names is immediately what comes to mind. There's Relief, Leafly, Relief, E-Leaf. There's Leaf everything.
Oh, yeah.
THC.
I think there are 2 B leaves, too. Like...
I think there might be 2 B leaves. That's right.
Yeah.
E-Leaf and there's BE leaf.
Yeah.
It's like, but again, we're only seeing it because we're so deep in the industry.
Yeah.
A consumer who's walking in isn't going to be like, oh, is this the Relief that I've been to before? No, that's the store they always go to. It's in their neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
So for them, it's less of a thing, but it's just hilarious on our end because we're just like, how many ways could you do an acronym of THC?
I know.
Like, right. So we joke about that stuff all the time. We love our vendors. Don't get me wrong, and I don't mean to throw anybody under the bus. If you're feeling offended by it, I apologize.
Me too. Sorry.
But it is kind of ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like,
And I've been on that site. Coming up with names for stores is not easy.
no, I bet, because then it's like, oh, is the domain name available? Is it already trademarked,
Yes.
copywritten?
Yep.
You know, you look up the USPTO trademark office.
Yep.
You know, applications to see if nobody's ever claimed it before. Like, there's a lot, especially when you're talking about a brand now.
So I have a new store opening in Ashburnham,
Oh, nice.
and I was on the fence on what we were going to call it because
Do you have a name yet?
yeah, the paperwork that we have on there now is called Eddie's Flowers,
Okay.
and our investor is Eddie.
Okay.
We want to have a mainly flower shop, so but we were going to call it Lone Star because it's on the border of New Hampshire, and we wanted to target that customer.
Yeah.
So I have
Ashburnham. Right.
I have the best of both worlds. We're calling it Eddie's Flowers as the dispensary, and it's going to be the home of the Lone Star brand.
Oh, okay.
So,
So you parlayed it a little bit.
Yeah.
I like that. That's pretty
So-
cool. Yeah, because, you know, border states are still important, especially around New Hampshire.
Yep.
You know, Vermont is all those other things. So, because I was just talking to Brendan McKee about this, who runs Silver Therapeutics, and we were talking about, because he has operations in all those states now. And we're talking about some of the border states and like how his Williamstown, which is the top left, I say, like,
that was his first store, right?
yeah, northwest location. It was in the border of Vermont and New York. So
Yeah.
tons of those people coming in.
It's a nice store.
New York. Yeah, it's a beautiful store.
Yeah.
You do really well in that store. But like on the New York side, you know, New York is legal now. There's a bunch of stores popping up. They're going to surpass us in a minute. They're going to surpass us pretty quick. Once the OCM got their act together, it was like game on.
Well, they hustle harder, you know.
Yeah, they hustle harder. Absolutely. The and you know, Vermont was always been a home grow state,
Yep.
right? So they started home grow before they had legal, and so it's kind of like, it's funny. We were having the discussion with Silver Therapeutics and Silver's kind of different entities. Vermont was like, we almost forgot. We were like, oh yeah, there's Vermont too. You have a store in Vermont. He's like, oh yeah, I do, because it was like that. You know, what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like Vermont is home grow.
Yeah.
So if you look at the numbers, I think Little Earth maybe have access to some of this stuff. I don't exactly know if Little Earth is in Vermont yet, but it probably is. But I bet it's like a fraction of a size because people have been home grow for so long.
Yep.
They
I
don't
have
have
some
to,
friends
like-
up there.
Yeah, they
all
grow it, they give
traditional.
it to their friends, or they sell it to their friends, or
Yep.
whatever, right? But it's like it's kind of
It's more organic. They love the smaller craft. I don't think
outdoors big there. You know what I mean?
any big MSOs are going to be very successful out there.
Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense financially either. Yeah, so you got that aspect, but you also have the simple fact that there's all these states are starting to mature around us also, whereas New York is kind of just coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Connecticut, even though Fine Fellow has 9 stores, like the regulations down there are insane, right? Because it's like you can't have
I love it though.
packaging,
I love it.
you can't have strain names, you have to
So-
have like some coded name. Give me your perspective on that, because you now have a Connecticut license, right?
Yeah. So, yes, the restrictions are a lot tougher, but I look at it like this: if they're the toughest in the country, and I think they probably are, if you can build your brand around their restrictions, then you can scale that brand anywhere.
Yeah.
And you know, in the cannabis industry, we're very creative. We roll at the punches. On one end, your packaging that the consumer gets, you know, has to be very bland. I could print it off of an Epson printer.
Yeah, basically.
They can have one logo, one color. That's it. That just means my cogs are lower, bro.
Very true.
If you're building a brand from scratch out there, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
But if you already have an established brand
Right.
and they let you do great in-store marketing, same stuff I have in Mass.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So all my display stuff in store is great.
Beautiful.
All my online stuff is great. And then
Just when you get it, it's like
you
black
get
and
it,
white,
it's
yeah.
black and white. I need to make some money. You know, a liter of Disty out there is going for like 22 grand. Live resin is 25K.
What?
Yeah.
I remember those days in Massachusetts.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I don't think it's going to go down anytime soon. There's a tight grip on who's able to operate.
Yeah.
I slid in right at the end of the year, got the manufacturing license. So I'm very excited about the opportunities for Connecticut.
What brands are you going to bring there immediately? PAX, probably, I'm assuming, right?
So right now it's very difficult to get my hands on any flour. So if anybody's listening and you have some flour, holler at your boy. So I'm going to be launching Irva. This is our foundation. You know, we have to go with Irva.
Got to start there.
And then I'll do some edibles and some vapes and stuff. So we're in talks actively with a couple different edible brands that we're trying to bring to the state. I'm also in talks with some traditional operators from Connecticut that I feel like if I can give a traditional operator a home where they can make a legal product and have it distributed out there, a homegrown, brand, that'll have a lot of traction. So I'm looking for those opportunities.
Yeah, I think there's, it's one of the things that we've toyed around with a little bit, not serious in any way. And it's something that was brought to me as a separate concept when I first started back in like 2019, early 2020, when I was starting to actually get some more serious about it, was the idea of almost like a co-op where you could have all these people who like have these specialties and they all get into a room or whatever. Not like they have like almost like a shared kitchen in a sense. Like, hey, this is the edible kitchen. Like if you make this bomb ass chocolate, let's go. Let's figure out how to get you in here, get you badged, whatever. You can make your chocolate. You supply all the labor and you buy all the ingredients or whatever, and then we'll sell it and we'll try to get onto the market for you. So you're kind of almost incubating all these different like potentially traditional people who are now coming and trying to make it a legal play.
It's a great idea because I have the same idea.
Okay. Well, I never act on it because we're too small to do anything about it.
We have a building in
Fitchburg.
Fitchburg.
Bigger, 3 times bigger than our actual team.
So we have a building in Fitchburg that's 75,000 square feet. It's a shell. It has a new roof. It's gutted. It's ready to be built out. I'm just looking for funding for it. Cultivation and manufacturing, where it's a weed works, where
I love it.
We can get people to come in and they can rent out a little storage facility that's a license built out that they can do whatever they want out of there.
Good for you, dude. See, that's what I'm talking about, because it's like now we're talking about a diversification of brands too, because it's just like whoever has all the millions of dollars gets to go and play.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you're in the traditional market, you've got this really great juice or something like that. Let's try to figure out how to get onto the market, right?
Yeah.
And that's why it's like I'm fine with competition. Is awesome.
Yeah.
Competition is everything. And
I want us to all succeed.
Yeah. Competition makes categories too. It's like, especially like Chill Here, Good Vibes, there's Squires, there's all these other companies. It's like people didn't know about this product even existed, and then Chill blew up, and they were like, oh my God, that's an actual thing, because there's regulatory issues where like, I'm not sure if that's even allowed. Like nobody knew.
Yeah.
And Chill just blew the doors off, and we're like, oh, this is actually allowed,
They're a traditional brand too. I don't know if you know that.
From Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they blew up out there. And I love Chill, everything that they stand for, because it's a traditional brand. It definitely fit in with what we're doing. With us, like we make Packwoods, but we also make Sluggers.
Sluggers, that's a new company, I think.
Yeah, that's dropping. My boy, the collab group distributes it. We manufacture it.
Nice.
And Jeter is a very popular brand. I'm sure you heard of that.
Oh yeah, we've heard of Jeter.
When people are looking at a category like infused pre-rolls, I look at it like if you put a Coke and a Pepsi machine next to each other, they both go up.
Both make more
and
money.
the question becomes, do I want a Coke or a Pepsi?
That's it.
Not do I want a soda or not?
Right.
And then, so for me, it's always sad when retail or brands go under. The people that are behind it, there's a lot of great people that get affected that are working there. So I feel really bad for them, but also it's bad for the industry in general.
You need diversity.
We want everybody to succeed.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Because I always go back to, some of the store conversations we have at stores sometimes, and I'm not always active on these conversations because we have a sales team and everything now, but back in the day when I was, they'd be like, well, we already have this product, so why would we take you in? And I'm like, no, they both exist, right? Yeah. The same thing. It's just like, we don't have to, I hate exclusivity. Yeah. I can't stand that stuff. And I understand relationships where it's just like, hey, we did have a dispensary come to us once and they're like, it's nothing against, like, we don't mind competitors. We actually have like 7 competitors around us, but this one store is super toxic and they've been fucking, they're bombing our Google reviews. They're calling up and harassing us. They're talking all this crazy shit online about us. Yeah. It was bad. He's like, if anything, just not sell to that company. But you can sell to all the other 6. We don't care. But that company's really nasty. They're not even from the state, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, all right, fine, we won't sell to these people. But that's literally the only time we've ever done anything like that, because we're just like, I wouldn't want somebody to tell us to be exclusive. Yeah. Right? You have to only sell to us, right? Yeah. So I don't want it the other way either.
It's so like seeing a retail store doing something like that to another retail store,
It's ridiculous.
it just means you're not doing something right. If you have enough time in your day to do those type of things, you're focusing your attention on the wrong direction, brother.
Well, I didn't go into the details of that because we actually have a closer relationship in a sense for the store that we're not going into, because there has been some really weird stuff that have happened. Yeah. So we're like, that's just a creepy environment in general. So we're fine not selling to these people. Basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're focused on the wrong thing. But you know, and I feel because, you know, it is funny because sometimes we don't know, like, if it's competitors or not sometimes, but our Instagram has been a yo-yo. It's up, down, up, down, up, down. Like, what the heck's going on? Here. Like, somebody's just like hitting the flag.
A lot of competitors are doing that, I feel. It's so sad. Like, it's so stupid. I don't look at Instagram as any worth putting any time or effort into, because we're fundamentally against their terms of service.
Yeah, they can
so at any point in time, they can shut us down. It's great to have, but I don't care how many followers I have or what. I use it to communicate with people and stuff like that. I posting stuff on there is almost a waste.
Yeah. There is an aspect to it that I do like, but we are against the terms of service without a doubt. And just knowing that in the back of your head, you could spend $100,000 building this beautiful team and, you know, growing to 1 million followers, and all of a sudden they just take it away tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, I got nothing now. I put all that investment into it. There's nothing left.
Yep. What you're doing is so smart. With this, the podcast, YouTube, largest search engine out there. That's the move, bro.
Well, you know, media I've been in, because before this, I ran a publishing site, and, you know, I was a partner, and I ran the technology part for an ad agency. So, like, I'm just familiar with all these things, and it was based on in New York City too. So it was like very much the grind was real there, right?
Yep.
So sleeping under your desk and like just grinding every single day and like getting ahead, constantly making progress because you knew the guy next to you was doing the same thing, right?
Yep.
You couldn't ever let your the foot off the gas. It's much more relaxed in cannabis, actually. However, there is the regulatory side is definitely throws a huge wrench in things. Like, I'm used to running at a fast pace, so I'm like fine with it.
Yeah.
The general idea of having so many diverse products, though, is kind of where I think we all kind of succeed, because I want to try all these products too. And it's really, truly a shame that I feel like if you have a barbecue sauce or a hot sauce, like, and stores are like, yeah, it's not going to sell that well, blah, blah, blah. Like, we can't do much with it. It's just a shame because, like, they put so much work and effort into this to make a beautiful, it probably tastes delicious too. Haven't had it, unfortunately, but like, I can think immediately of a few brands off my head that I've made really great stuff that comes and goes so quick because they're just like, well, you know, people didn't buy enough of it, you know, well, we couldn't support it or something like that. But I always go back to the simple idea that people are walking to the dispensary to buy flower-based products, right? That's still a king.
Flower's always been king.
It's not going away anytime soon.
And until it becomes more normalized, until we look at this just like alcohol, where you can go to a social consumption lounge and have an infused meal or uninfused, you can smoke or not smoke. Mm-hmm. That's when things are going to open up a lot more. And I'm really excited and looking forward to social consumption. I don't know how close you've been following it.
I have been a little bit here and there, but it's one of those things that I don't know if I can take advantage of it because I'm unsure of my SE status. Like, I'm MBE. I have like some of the attributes for SE, but I think I asked my investigator once. They're like, well, if you do this, and then you are. But I was like, it just become much of a bother. So I should have probably, because I didn't realize there were going to be grants involved. I'm like, man, I could use that money.
It's not guaranteed.
Grants.
It's not guaranteed.
No,
low key. Do you hear what happened with them?
They didn't get it.
Yeah, they didn't get it, and they just got the rug ripped out from underneath them in Dorchester too.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, so some shady.
That was their second store.
That was their flagship store. They're building another one.
Oh, this next one. Okay, so I thought there was a new one. They just, because Jeff was telling me.
Yeah. He
was building the next store.
Yeah, I won't get into the details, but ask around. Really, really messed up stuff that happened over there.
Yeah, and so I actually have our friend, Ruben, but from Delivered Inc.
I love that guy too. Yes.
He didn't get any of the grant.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I was like, he isn't, like, that's the most pure SE play. He's a delivery operator who has been struggling nonstop.
So Yeah, you can't count on this.
He built this facility with him and his family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's as grassroots as you can get. And he didn't get one?
It's insane.
But again, it's a third party. People go, it's not the CCC. It's a separate entity that made all those determinations. So don't go after your investigators. Don't be calling up Travis, your executive director, and be like, hey, why didn't he get this thing? It's like, that was outside of their purview.
Yeah.
But there's a list of SE people, and they sent it off to a third party, and they filled some application, and there was 11 or so that didn't get anything.
Yeah.
Out of like the 60 or so that were, live.
It's kind of messed up. So I think.
But you've got a couple, so you're still got irons in the fire. You're literally like, so social consumption.
I will have social consumption, and I don't know if I will launch home delivery. I'm working on a delivery operator. So,
oh, right, because that's different.
Yeah, so I have.
You're talking, the elevated routes ones was really more of courier.
Yeah.
DoorDash style.
Yeah. So
they support that store.
If they want, I'll give them one delivery operator, one courier, so they can have both. And I want to do one consumption with them that's attached to their store.
Nice.
Out of the 3 different consumptions licenses, they have the ones that are attached to retails. I think if you are vertically integrated like they are, and you can have a lounge where people can come and not just buy stuff and leave, but actually hang out and have music and have entertainment and brand activations, and you can try stuff. This is like game changer, bro.
Yeah.
So
you're just gonna walk through this other door, and
now it's all there. Inside. So that's really exciting. I think that's a game changer when it's done right. We're not talking some little room that's a cloudy, smoky filled room. It needs to be a reason to go there.
Right.
So like Dave and Buster's for adults.
Yeah. Right? So you feel like the social consumption does have an actual strong path. I know there's people like Todd Dunn, Cannabis Genetics. He's always been a proponent of. He's like, if you just do it right, it'll work.
100%.
A lot of people aren't thinking of it like that.
So I think the attached to retails are great. So I'll be able to do 3 of those. I'm giving one to Elevated Roots. I'll see where I'm doing my other 2 with. The standalone ones are what I'm really excited for. Because think of that like a nightclub in Boston.
Right.
That is a restaurant and nightclub that everything in there is infused.
Do you think you should be able to serve alcohol?
I'd love to. But we know how it's going to be. They're never going to give us what we want right away.
Yeah.
This is going to be years in the making. And like I could see, like a hookah bar attached to a restaurant has a separate license in a separate area. I could see something like that potentially working, like Tito's spot. The alcohol served upstairs.
Right.
Everything else is, so we'll see how it goes. Although with Tito's, I'd probably move the bar down to the floor below
the bar sounds better.
Because the that roof deck, how the convertible roof, that's amazing, bro. I love that place. So.
I've never been up there. I've only seen pictures of that.
Oh, you need to go.
I've been to the store, but I've been to like the roof deck.
You're missing the best part.
Yeah, is it really?
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
That would be my office if that was my
Tito, that's your office buddy.
Yeah.
Very cool. Any last parting thoughts you want to leave us with?
No, so one thing I want to give flowers to Commissioner Roy at the last meeting. She was really putting herself in the shoes of the operators when it comes to having to like little details like hours of operation.
Yeah.
The current hours of operation would mean that if you wanted to do yoga on the beach with sunrise, you wouldn't be able to.
Right.
Or if you had a nightclub in Boston, you'd have to shut down at 11 a.m. or stop serving at 11 when bars are going until 2, right? So like...
You mean 11 p.m.?
Yeah, p.m. Yeah. So like at this point, like she started actually putting herself in the shoes of the operators and looking at all of the rules and asking questions like, hey, why are we doing this? And does it really need to be this restrictive?
Yeah.
Other things like the body cams. So when you're at a bar, your bartender doesn't have a body cam serving you. And people who are consuming maybe don't want to feel like they're being interrogated by police.
Right.
So like those are points that she pointed out during the last meeting that gives me hope that they're now starting to realize that the regulations are very important, right? Because we're in the compliance industry so we can sell some cannabis. I think they know they messed up with delivery by over-regulating it. I think it's all going to come down to what rules actually pass. If we're not allowed to do infused meals where we can give them fresh like those sauces need to be on a hot piece of chicken.
100%.
We can dose it. It's not this hard. It's not rocket science. How come we can't do that? If we're going to have a club in Boston where, hey, you want to meet me downtown where we can both have a pack of gummies?
Yep.
That's not going to work.
Right.
You know, they need to open up. And as long as the rules are relatively okay, I think that there's a lot of opportunity. However, look at Vegas.
The first one closed. Yeah. So the first social consumption lounge in Vegas closed just recently. I do feel, I agree with you, your sentiments, but I also feel like some of the responsibility also lies on the operators, not in the social consumption, but in not the education, but like, I feel like for delivery, what happened was a lot of the operators were like, we'll just take whatever rules you give us because we just want to get it started.
Yeah.
And now I think everybody's learned, be like, actually, we have to fight for the sensible rules.
Yes.
Because if we don't, then we're going to end up like delivery operators and not be able to make money for like, you know, until they relieve some of these rules, basically.
Exactly.
So you could have a big fat pocketbook to be able to afford, you know, 6, 12, 18 months worth of just like not great sales, you know?
Yeah. And let's face it, the only people who are able to open are social equity people. And none of us have big fat pocketbooks.
They do not have the money.
So why even go through this process if you're just going to make it so restrictive that you can't make any money?
Exactly. So Commissioner Roy, thank you very much. But I think it really does come down to just sensible and sane policy. And I know there's obviously like other groups against a lot of this stuff. I think there was a group that showed up for like protect the kids group kind of thing, and totally understand their perspective on it. But like the sky hasn't fallen. Like everything's fine. Like you're still going to your job. Whoever's consuming still is a functioning member of society. Like it's not like that's the podcast high functioning. Like there's plenty of people out here who are on the everyday grind and doing whatever they can do to, you know, make a living for themselves. And they're fine.
Yeah.
Nobody died.
Exactly.
Work. Everybody's cool. You know.
Yeah. And look at where the money comes from for some of those people that are against cannabis.
Right.
It's weird. It might go back to, I don't know, pharmaceuticals and alcohol.
I don't look that deeply.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah. And what's the real motivation behind this after all? So
exactly. Yeah. You're trying to get me canceled by the pharma companies. I have to cancel my channel. Anyways, it's been an absolute pleasure catching up with you again. It's been a minute since we've seen each other. At the Flower Expo?
Yeah, I'll be there.
All right, dude. I'll see you on Flower Expo then.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been fun.